What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Saturday, January 20th, 2024, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now, it is 1:01 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Iraq. So, apparently, this morning there was a massive attack on the U.S. Al Assad air base in Iraq. Apparently, at least 40 ballistic missiles were launched at the base, resulting in severe injuries to several U.S. soldiers, including Iraqi security forces. U.S. officials have confirmed that 2 American soldiers were injured, suffering what appears to be traumatic brain injury, and the Islamic resistance in Iraq is claiming responsibility. And here's the official statement from the Islamic resistance in Iraq. That's an Iranian proxy. It says here, in the name of God the Most, continuing our approach to resisting the American occupation forces in Iraq and the region, and in response to massacres by the Zionist entity against our people in Gaza, the Mujahideen of the Islamic resistance in Iraq attacked the occupied al-Assad base in western Iraq with a missile salvo, and the Islamic resistance confirms its continuation. Okay, so they're saying they're going to continue. So this is not the end, guys. Okay, and here we have some footage coming in from Iraq showing these missiles flying through the air. You can see multiple contrails and what appear to be missile interceptors attempting to intercept these missiles. What I don't understand is why our base does not have some type of missile defense system. We do have the CRAM system, which works for artillery and mortars and drones and things like that. But for supersonic or hypersonic projectiles, you need special missile defense systems. And I don't understand why we don't have them there, guys. Our troops are in harm's way, and we're not doing the best we can to protect them. And U.S. officials are now apparently talking about using the AUMF doctrine, which is a congressional authorization that was used in 2002 during the War on Terror. It allows for more use of force by the president without a full declaration of war. Okay, so the U.S. is considering an AUMF doctrine, which would allow Biden to step up his strikes on the Houthis, potentially also on the Islamic resistance in Iraq, which carried out this attack on the base. So this is very serious, guys. Okay, the U.S. is looking to escalate. And apparently also Israel took out 5 Iranian military commanders from the IRGC and the Quds Force in Damascus, Syria, during an air raid this morning. Iranian news agencies confirmed that the Quds Force intelligence commander and his deputy were taken out in an air raid in Damascus. Okay, so Iranian news agencies are confirming this. The top intelligence commander and his deputy of the Quds Force have been taken out. And his name was Sadiq Omidzadeh. He was the head intelligence officer of the IRGC's Quds Force. His name appeared in leaked documents in June 2023, indicating that he was the mastermind and planner of attacks against American forces in Syria. So potentially the U.S. was involved in planning out this air raid with Israel to take this guy out. And Israel also took out 4 top commanders of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, including Hojatullah Amidvar, Ali Agazadeh, and Hossein Mohammadi, and Saeed Karimi. Okay, so multiple Iranian military commanders taken out. There was also an Israeli air raid earlier this morning on a car in southern Lebanon that has reportedly resulted in the successful elimination of 2 senior members of Hezbollah, including Ali Muhammad Hadraj, the head of Hezbollah's electronic warfare department. And what you're looking at here is a photo coming from Damascus this morning showing this huge plume of smoke. And I believe this is from that air raid that took out the IRGC commanders. So this is huge news, guys. Okay, a U.S. base coming under massive attack, 40 ballistic missiles, severe injuries, and several Iranian military commanders, including the head of intelligence of the Quds Force and the head of Hezbollah's electronic warfare department, being eliminated. So the situation is continuing to escalate. And Reuters is reporting that Iranian advisors and Hezbollah leaders are helping the Houthis direct their attacks in the Red Sea. Okay, so you see how they're connecting Iran and Hezbollah to the Houthis? I'm telling you guys, the next big thing is going to be an operation in Iran and against Hezbollah. And Iran announced today the successful launch of the Suraya satellite with a Qaim 100 space launch vehicle. The U.S. has reportedly warned Iran against such launches, saying the same technology can be used for intercontinental ballistic missiles, including ones designed to deliver a nuclear warhead. So, very serious situation in the Middle East, guys. I want to just also update you on the situation in the Red Sea. So we have an official tweet here from U.S. Central Command put out this morning. They said that they launched another operation at the Houthis. They destroyed another anti-ship missile launch location. So this is the 8th operation against the Houthis in the past about week or week and a half. Okay, so very serious situation going on in the Middle East, and Israeli officials have notified the Biden administration and U.S. defense officials that a large military campaign in southern Lebanon is imminent if an agreement with Hezbollah regarding UN Security Council Resolution 1701 is not reached. Okay, so Israeli officials have already notified the Biden administration that they are going to go after Hezbollah if a deal is not reached with Hezbollah that satisfies Israel. So in my live stream, I reported yesterday that Israel gave a time frame of the end of January for diplomacy. And if diplomacy fails by the end of January, then they're going to go in. Okay. And the Israeli Emergency Authority started to prepare food supplies in case of a war in Lebanon. This was reported by Israeli Channel 13. And if you watched my update 2 weeks ago or so, I reported that Israel put their clinics and hospitals on high alert in northern Israel to accept potentially thousands of casualties. And the volunteer security forces in northern Israel have started to receive weapons and ammunition from the Israeli military. Now, if you don't know how that works, I have a friend of mine who is in one of these volunteer security forces in Israel. He lives in Israel, and he explained to me how it works. Basically, as an Israeli citizen, you can volunteer to be part of this security force, and it's a private security force. But in the event of some type of a contingency, the government in Israel would hand out extra weapons and ammunition to these private forces. These private forces are largely funded with their own money, but in a contingency situation, they would work with the military. And normally, these private security forces are limited in the amount of firearms and ammo they can own and carry. For example, an individual person in this security force can only carry and possess 50 rounds of ammunition and a handgun. That's it. Okay, no more than that. So if the Israeli government is handing out ammo and weapons, that means something is about to go down. Plus, putting their hospitals on high alert, and now the Israeli Emergency Authority, preparing food supplies in case of a war in Lebanon. Okay. So things are really escalating, guys, on all these different fronts. We have U.S. bases getting attacked. Okay. We have Iran and Hezbollah helping the Houthis attacking these ships. We almost had a major war with Pakistan and Iran 2 days ago, and that could flare up again. And now we have the situation between Israel and Hezbollah. So things are really spiraling out of control. I predicted this months ago. If you go back to October and November, I was warning you guys that this was all going to happen, that these attacks on the U.S. bases were going to get worse and worse, that the Houthi attacks were going to get worse and worse, that the situation between Hezbollah and Israel was going to get worse and worse. And now it's happening, guys. I wish I was wrong. I really do. And the Israeli foreign minister is going to be meeting with a number of his counterparts in Europe and the Middle East in Brussels on Monday. Okay, so this could be the final chance for diplomacy. Okay, the Israeli foreign minister going to Brussels to meet European and Middle Eastern foreign ministers. Now, remember, 2 weeks ago, Anthony Blinken visited Israel and also Hochstein. And Hochstein was given the task by Biden to work out some kind of a peace deal between Hezbollah and Israel, and that failed. So now this looks like the last chance at diplomacy on Monday. And I think if it fails on Monday, that's when Israel's going to go in, because they have, I heard, as many as 250,000 people that evacuated from northern Israel, and they want to go back home. Okay, they want to return to where they live, and they're not able to do that because Hezbollah is continuing to attack northern Israel on a daily basis. Okay, and the Israeli generals, the Israeli prime minister, have warned repeatedly that they're going to go into Lebanon if Hezbollah doesn't back off from the border. Okay. And nobody takes Israel seriously. They think that they're just bluffing. They're not bluffing, guys. Okay. Israel will do what they need to do to protect their people. Okay. And Yemen has promised safe passage for all Russian and Chinese commercial vessels in the Red Sea. Isn't that interesting? And a senior official of Lebanese Hezbollah resistance movement has warned Israel against waging an all-out war on Lebanon, emphasizing that the Israeli government should expect a strong slap in the face if it underestimates his group's defensive capabilities and commits an act of adventurism. And heavy clashes have erupted on the border of Afghanistan and Pakistan. Taliban soldiers started the clash by attacking the Pakistani army near the Bajar-Kunar border. Both sides are reportedly now using heavy arms against each other. A Pakistani army outpost has been blown up in one of the areas, with heavy casualties to Pakistani forces. Okay. And President Joe Biden's top aides told lawmakers in a private meeting that if Congress fails to authorize additional military aid for Ukraine in the coming days, Russia could win the war in Ukraine in a matter of weeks or months at best. And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, they have brought back their 25% discount on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewith.nyprepper.com. The link is in the description below this video. But this 3-month emergency food supply is freeze-dried, so it has a 25-year shelf life. And it's all contained within 6 rugged, water-resistant buckets. And free shipping is included. So again, use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get 25% off of the My Patriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply. It's really a no-brainer. 25-year shelf life. You don't have to worry about your food preps going bad. You don't have to worry about rotating anything. And it's all contained within 6 buckets. So you can find the space to store 6 buckets, guys. And they also have a general store. If you click on the My Patriot Supply logo at the top of the page when you get to preparewithnyprepper.com, you can access their general store. and they have all kinds of prepping and survival items for sale. They have MREs, they have survival seeds, they have potassium iodide, they have survival bars. So check it out. Prepare with NYPrepper.com to get 25% off of the My Patriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply, and the link is in the description below this video. And according to CNN, citing U.S. intelligence, apparently the war in Ukraine could last another 2 to 5 years. And I want to update you guys on this defense line that's going to be built in the Baltic countries. I reported this last night in my live stream. The Baltic countries, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, agreed to build a massive defensive line along their border with Russia, very similar to the Maginot Line in World War II. Okay, now we know that the Maginot Line failed to protect France because the Maginot Line did not go all the way up where it was supposed to go through Belgium, along the Belgium border, and Hitler exploited that, and he just went around the line. Okay, hopefully they don't make that mistake with this line, but we're hearing that Estonia is going to be putting in as many as 600 bunkers along their border with Russia, guys. 600 bunkers, and here's a picture released by the Estonian Ministry of Defense today showing what these bunkers would look like. So it appears that they're going to build a massive trench line, and they're going to put these concrete bunkers every, I don't know, a few hundred meters or whatever, and then they're going to put some soil or earth on top to protect them from impacts. But this looks like a very sophisticated trench system and bunker system that they're going to be building. Okay, I mean, this is just a clear sign to me that NATO is concerned about an invasion from Russia, and this is all happening just days after that classified document was leaked out by the German newspaper Bild. And this classified document was from the German military, and it said that Russia could start some type of a war with NATO this coming fall and winter. Okay, and NATO is going to start their largest drill in decades on Monday with as many as 90,000 troops from all the different NATO countries, plus NATO partner countries, including Sweden, Moldova, and some others. Okay, 90,000 troops. 20,000 of those troops are going to be coming from Britain, and that's going to be Britain's largest deployment of troops outside of British territory since 40 years. Okay, in 40 years, they have not had to move 20,000 troops outside of their territory at once like that. That is just a huge sign that NATO is preparing for a showdown with Russia. Okay, and I'm also hearing that there's going to be potentially hundreds of warships, advanced fighter jets taking part in these exercises. But look at this, guys. I mean, this is like something out of World War II. Okay, and I want to just play this video of one of NATO's top generals, Admiral Rob Bauer, and he was saying that people need to stockpile supplies in the event of World War III with Russia. Let's listen in.
You need to have water, you need to have a radio on batteries, and you need to have a flashlight on batteries to make sure that you can survive the first 36 hours. Things like that. That's simple things.
Sounds like he's talking about a nuclear strike, guys.
You need to have water, you need to have a radio on batteries, and you need to have a flashlight on batteries to make sure that you can survive the first 36 hours. Things like that. That's simple things. But it starts there. The realization that not everything is plannable, not everything is going to be hunky-dory in the next 20 years. I'm not saying it is going wrong tomorrow, but we have to realize it's not a given that we are in peace. And that's why we have the plans. That's why we are preparing for a conflict with Russia and the terror groups, if it comes to it, if they attack us. We're not seeing.
Wow, guys, very ominous. Let's listen to that again.
You need to have water, you need to have a radio on batteries, and you need to have a flashlight on batteries to make sure that you can survive the first 36 hours. Things like that. That's simple things. But it starts there. The realization.
Wow, guys, very ominous. And we have some concerning news coming out of the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. That's the giant nuclear power plant in Ukraine. It has 6 nuclear reactors. It's the largest nuclear power plant in Europe. Apparently, the IAEA, which is the UN's nuclear agency, is still not being granted full access to reactor number 6 and some areas of each reactor, including the reactor rooftops. After being granted access to the reactor hall of Unit 6 earlier this week, the IAEA experts are still seeking access to the other reactor halls, as well as to part of all 6 turbine halls that have not yet been able to visit, as well as to some of the reactor rooftops. So, why is Russia not allowing UN inspectors to go to the reactor rooftops and to get full access to reactor number 6 and all the other reactors? Did they rig those areas with demolitions? And apparently, boric acid has been leaking from a storage tank since December 22nd. And this is concerning because boric acid is used to control the rate of a nuclear reaction. Okay, so they use boric acid to control how fast a reaction occurs. And I'm going to read to you what the IAEA said. They said the IAEA team has continued to monitor the situation and gather information regarding boric acid deposits in some of the safety system rooms of Unit 6, which were first observed on December 22nd. During yesterday's visit to its main control room, the team confirmed that the level of boric acid in the storage tank was above the minimum level in the technical specs, despite the previously observed leak of boric acid. So boric acid is leaking, guys. That's not a good sign. Okay, that's at reactor number 6. And Russian forces remined the perimeter area around the power plant after removing the mines in November 2023. Mines along the perimeter of the ZNPP in a buffer zone between the facility's internal and external fences, which were previously identified by the IAEA team and were removed in November 2023, are now back in place. This is a restricted area inaccessible to operational plant personnel. Director General Grossi reiterated that the presence of mines is inconsistent with the IAEA safety standards. And apparently, they also lost their backup power supply for several hours on Thursday. Thursday's failure of 2 of the ZNPP's backup power electrical transformers showed the continuing vulnerability in the availability of external power, which the plant needs to cool its 6 reactors and for other essential nuclear safety and security functions. So the situation at Zaporizhia nuclear power plant is getting worse and worse as well. And the president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, confirmed today that Belarus received from Russia nuclear missiles for the Iskander complex. Okay, the Iskander is basically the new Scud missile that Russia has. So apparently, Belarus has received the nuclear warheads for those Iskander missiles. And Moldova will be involved as a host in the massive NATO exercise starting next week called Steadfast Defender, meaning they will allow NATO forces to train on their territory, and they will also train with NATO forces. 90,000 soldiers, dozens of planes and helicopters, and over 1,000 combat vehicles will participate in this exercise. The first phase, which begins towards the end of January, will focus on the transatlantic transfer of forces, testing the U.S.'s ability to quickly send troops to Europe. The second phase, which Moldova will join as a host, will begin in mid-February and will test whether NATO can defend its eastern flank, or in the language of NATO documents, if the alliance can hold complex operations in many domains for months over thousands of kilometers from the far north to Central and Eastern Europe and in all conditions. Okay, so Moldova is going to be hosting NATO forces, guys. Okay, NATO forces will be training in Moldova. And I personally believe that this is just a cover for a massive deployment of NATO forces to the eastern flank of NATO, because they're expecting Russia to potentially make a move on the Baltics or Moldova or Poland or Finland. So this is just a cover, in my opinion. I think most of those troops are going to end up staying after the exercises are over. And these exercises are going to last for several months. Several months. They're going to go all the way through June. But this is huge, guys. Okay, Moldova is going to be hosting NATO forces. And we have a picture here coming out of Crimea. Apparently, Russian Onyx missiles were seen being moved in Sevastopol. And this picture was taken by Ukrainian partisans. And British police have created a new unit that will specialize in combating threats coming from a number of countries, primarily Iran, China, and Russia. And the email accounts of some Microsoft executives were hacked by the Russian intelligence group Nobilium. And on Thursday in Norway, 2 F-35 fighter jets were scrambled in search of a fast-moving luminous object that was observed in the sky between Andoya and Evenes around 1700 hours at 7,000 feet, but did not appear on radar. And Japan's first lunar module landed on the moon, guys. So here we have some footage coming out of North Carolina, and a lot of people are talking about this. I don't know what this is, but if you guys have a guess, put it in the comments. I don't know what this could be, but it looks absolutely insane. I don't know if this is part of some kind of air show, but it looks really surreal. Maybe it's part of some kind of air show. I don't know why you would do an air show at night, though. I mean, that's pretty unusual. But that's the latest breaking news that I have, guys. I will be back later on today with more breaking news, so make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell icon below so you get notified when I post these updates. And until next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.